So good evening and welcome. My name is Reverend Michael McMorrow. I'm the spiritual director at the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills, where we are live streaming from. And so my thanks to my buddy Mike Carlin here, who's one of the guys who does like almost everything here. And so we appreciate him being here. And we appreciate you being here as we come together for this meditation service. And so let's get right into it, shall we? So we're going to start by lighting the flames of faith. And I've just decided, why don't I just stay seated for the whole deal? All right, so let's just start by taking a deep, conscious breath. Release. As we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. That fundamental to this truth is a unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this evening. So, the first candle, pick one. The first candle we light for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. The second candle we light for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here, online, and in the heart. And as we have here behind me a healing candle, at this time, please put silently, or speak aloud if you like, the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love. Are we doing more music or?
Yes.
Sorry to break the vibe there at home. All right, so let's just take a deep conscious breath as we open this moment now in prayer, knowing together that there is only one thing at work here, one power, one presence, one source, one life, one living intelligence, one infinite heart of the divine itself, expressing in, through, and as all of life. In, through, and as all that we are. And so in this moment, we are connecting with this intellectual truth and allowing that truth to drop down into the heart as we come together in this time of meditation to explore in an inward way that place of stillness within. That place of stillness where Spirit whispers. And so I know for each one here this evening that this is time well spent, that whatever unfolds is exactly perfect for each person, and that we are shifted and lifted into ways of understanding how the Spirit works in our lives by means of this time here this evening. So for this word, for the thoughts held within the hearts of each one here, we know that all of them are heard in the heart of the divine, that aspect of the mind of the Spirit that knows only to say yes. So we just release it, let it go, allow it to be so, and together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. All right, so I thought I would share from this book. This is Ernest Holmes, 365. So Ernest Holmes is the writer or founder of of the denomination known as religious science, but the teaching known as the science of mind and spirit. And so this is a daily devotional like many that are out there. I like this one because I like what Holmes has to say. And so today's an interesting day in that usually it's April 15th. In normal circumstances, people are maybe flipped out a little bit because they got to get their taxes in on time. Of course, that's been extended through to July 15th. Mike told me that his stimulus check dropped today, so make sure you check your bank accounts. And wouldn't it be nice to get a check from Uncle Sam on April 15th rather than the other way around? See? It's an ill wind indeed that doesn't have some good in it. Yeah, so, but the reading, I'm actually wanting to share with you the reading for tomorrow from the 365 for April 16th, because it's one of my favorite stories of Jesus. This quote from Matthew. And Jesus said unto the centurion, Go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. So it is done to you as you believe. This is something that we have often heard, and this is where that saying that we have here, it's almost a slogan in religious science, that's where it comes from. So Matthew 8:13, and I think that's it, but it's stamped really small. But anyway, so Ernest Holmes wrote this about this passage, that in releasing our word of affirmative prayer, or spiritual mind treatment if you like, in releasing our word of affirmative prayer into the creative activity of mind, we do so with a glad and thankful heart. Giving thanks is a further indication that we have fully released our prayer. It means that we are sure of the completion of the creative process and that there are no lingering doubts. The person who is still unconvinced does not rejoice. He waits until he sees if it is going to work. But if one has prayed with conviction, believing and trusting in a creative principle in and behind all that exists, he or she will turn his back on that particular prayer of affirmation, give thanks for its certainty, and rejoice in its fulfillment, even though he has not yet seen it outwardly fulfilled. The only time to make use of this creative principle is now. The real secret to its practical application lies not in how much we know, but in the use of what we do know. Let me read that again. The real secret to its practical application lies not in how much we know, but in the use of what we know. The results, large or small, much or little, depend entirely on the degree of conscientious endeavor, enthusiasm, and joy, conviction and faith that we can bring to bear on any particular situation. We have to become quiet and in the solitude of our own thought, discover for ourselves what it is we actually believe, and then proceed to put that faith into creative action through patterns of thinking built around that faith. Giving thanks is a further indication that we have fully released our prayer. It means that we are sure of the completion of the creative process and that there are no lingering doubts. And then, so he says, he mentions a person who is unconvinced does not rejoice. And it is tempting. It is tempting, particularly when you are working in a very focused way to bring about change in our life, in your life. It is tempting to start wondering what's going on and when is it going to work, right? Or as if we use the metaphor of planting a seed, right? So our new thought is actually a seed or a spiritual prototype that we are releasing into this creative principle known as mind, right? And just as we would not dig up a seed to see if it's germinating, to see if it started growing, in a like way, we do not want to dig up our spiritual prototype and start wondering where and when it's going to happen. For to wonder is to doubt, right? And to hope is an unconscious compromise, right? And it's not effective in affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment. So we can know with conviction. So, and meditation can help in this, of course, because meditation helps to train and focus the mind. And in the technique that we use, it's done through focusing our attention on the breath. So we'll go into that, but before we get into that, I'm going to take you through it. And it'll be guided for about 5 minutes or so, maybe 8 if I get overly chatty, which hopefully won't happen since we're supposed to be meditating. And then we'll simply breathe through 15 to 20 minutes or so. It'll probably be closer to 20. And then we'll do an affirmative prayer at the end, and then we'll be done. So the way it's been working, being online here, is that we're easily done by 8 o'clock. So you don't have to miss your favorite show. The Masked Singer or whatever it is queued up. All right. So, and Mike will graciously cue up our what we call the Omen Bros. And that helps us here in the sanctuary so that we don't hear the street noise, which is interesting because there's really no cars anymore. It's a very bizarre time around here. All right, so what do you say we just start by, well, first let's check our seat. How are we doing in our seat? Get our wiggles and jiggles out, just so that we're set in imagine yourself in a triangle position, right? So one of the most stable forms in building, the triangle. And so I like to just do it my own way, but you may be sitting. For those who can, maybe sitting lotus style, however you're doing it is fine. There's no wrong way to do this. All right, so let's just start by taking a deep conscious breath and releasing. And in that release, we're just releasing the cares and concerns of the day and allowing ourselves to surrender. Yeah. And we're going to take another deep breath, as full as we can, and release. And on that release, we're going to relax just a little bit more. And then we're going to take a third breath. And then in this breath, we're going to release and allow our shoulders to drop and our neck to lengthen just a bit. So taking a deep breath. And release. So now we focus our attention on the breath. And what we mean by that is we're bringing our attention to the movement of the air, of the breath in the nostril. So this could feel like pressure, hot, cold, or just movement. And the mind begins to still. Now you will find, or you may find, that thoughts will pop up, arise. That's okay, we just observe them, maybe even label them thinking and just release it. And then you may find that you get snagged by a thought. And then like a fish that's hooked, you'll take out a lot of line. And that's okay too. So should you find that happens, you can just simply take a deep breath and release, and then return to the breath. Now some folks will use mantra here. It's another method. If you'd like to try that, you can try God is on the in-breath and all there is on the out-breath, or some variation of that. Something you won't think about. Following the breath. So let's just do a quick scan of the body. I like having my feet anchored in the floors. And I just start by bringing my attention to the bottom of my feet and then the top of my feet. The sensation of the legs up into the knee, So what we're doing is releasing any tension. So sometimes we can torque the knees a little bit, so we want to make an adjustment. The back of the thighs, the top of the thighs, into the sit bones. So the sit bones anchored nicely into the chair. The belly rising and falling easily and effortlessly. Let's take a few breaths here. And from the sit bones, a straight spine without tension. If you feel some tightness in your lower back, if you tuck your tailbone in just a little bit, you can release that. Shoulders back naturally. Arms and hands relaxed. Belly in a gentle rise and fall, breathing naturally. And again, let's focus here for a few breaths on the belly. So again, up the sit bones to the spine. Monitoring the breath in the nostrils. Releasing the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Releasing any tension in the face. So as you focus your attention on the breath, see if you can detect the movement of the breath on your upper lip. This will take you a little deeper. And with practice, maybe some tingling above the eyebrows, to the crown of the head. These are things that you may experience. So taking a deep breath one more time, all the way to the top. And releasing as we move now into the silence for about 15-20 minutes, and I'll call us out. Starting now. So as we bring ourselves gently back into the room, staying with the breath. And imagining with me at the center of your chest and your heart center that there is a flame, the seed of the soul, the flame of the divine itself. And so now with each in-breath, we're going to fan that flame. We're going to fan that flame with the light of the divine itself. Breathing easily and naturally. So that this flame now grows into a little ball of fire, ball of light in our heart center. As we breathe in light and we're exhaling love. Breathing in light, exhaling love. With each in-breath, expansion, contraction, like blowing up a balloon, so that this ball continues to grow in radiance, in brilliance, a light that illuminates, does not consume. Expanding now to beyond the body, torso, side to side, front to back, top to bottom. Continuing to expand. Side to side, top to bottom, front to back. So now we're sitting in this field of light, staying with the breath. Till this field extends beyond our fingertips in all directions. So in this field of light, this light of the divine, this light of love, this light of our oneness with the divine, let's work with it a little bit. Let's just know that this light is all that we are. That we are allowing the light of the divine now to energize every aspect of the body temple. From a molecular level now, we are activating a pattern of perfection, a vibration, a divine Om, if you will, that is aligning at a molecular level and bringing and calling forth ways of healing to itself as itself. So that every molecule into every cell into every organ, into every vessel and organ working as the pattern of perfection as the various systems of the body temple, that all of it is working in concert with a pattern of perfection unleashed by our oneness with the Spirit, unleashed as an activity of consciousness, knowing our oneness with the divine. And so knowing that our body temple now is vibrating with the healing energy of the Spirit, that we know that it is casting out anything unlike radiant good health. And as we know this truth for ourselves, we know it further for those closest to us, for our friends and neighbors, for our cashiers, delivery people, healthcare workers, those who are supporting us as we stay safely at home. That we are opening our mind now to a divine download of creative expression, creative intelligence that is impressing upon us even now within the conscious mind, new and creative solutions to any challenge or circumstance that may have presented itself to us. That we're allowing this mental activity to now be the great opener of the heart itself as we experience a deep sense of compassion and empathy for our fellows, for ourselves, for those closest to us, for our leaders, that we know that all of it, that there is no spot where God is not. So we're knowing that this God intelligence is infusing itself into all aspects of life, locally and globally. That we know further that our relationships are strong, that they are connected, that they have within them sweet moments of intimacy, of deep sharing. That we are experiencing that even now through means of online activity by means of this meditation here this evening. That we are not bound in any way by anything. And so as we know this for our online community, we know this for the world at large. That all is being shifted and lifted to deeper insights for the greatest yet to be, for the expression of the divine as the human. That we know for all beings that they are exploring within their own systems ways to bring forth a world that works for all. So taking a deep breath, we just release it all the cares and concerns of anyone watching, listening. The word spoken here, that we are releasing it now to that aspect of the mind of the divine itself, acting as law, bound only by the nature of its own being, which is infinite, and bound only by our use of it with authority and deep faith, of which we have an ample supply. So we just release it in gratitude, feeling deeply grateful and thankful for all the ways that we are being supported. Deeply grateful and thankful for this bit of good coming our way to help support our families. So taking another deep breath and just one final release in. As we know, when we hit the pillow tonight, that we fall asleep easily, sleeping deeply, restfully, dreaming sweet dreams, that we awaken feeling rested and restored and revitalized, full of vim and vigor and excitement for a day that has endless possibilities within it. That we are stepping into, we step into this day as an activity of consciousness, knowing all that God is available to us. And so we call it forth. through, in, and as our life as a divine expression of creative principle. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So, hope that worked for you. It certainly worked for me. 6 minutes to spare, plenty of time to get to the masked singer. So we have, we do have online activities going on. So we will be starting our Sunday service at 10:30 on this same YouTube channel. Invite your friends to join us. If you have anyone who's been interested in what we're doing here at all, this is a great way to introduce them to the center, and if they like it, then encourage them to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because this only helps us. And followed this Sunday, I'll open up a Zoom chat room. So there was about 15 of us that got together last week, and so it was great to see people actually see their faces and remember what everybody looked like, and to see who needs a haircut and so forth. So so you're welcome to join us. And if this is your first time, this is your first exposure to this center, please, you're welcome to join us for not only the service, but also the fellowship afterwards, and stop in and say hello. I'd love to meet you. And as always, if you need any prayer support at all, you can find me at revmike@cslgh.org. If you go to our website, which is cslgh.org, you can look up, I think it's under staff, and then practitioners and ministers. There's all kinds of folks to pray with you. So if you are feeling burdened by anything, no matter how great or small, why carry that rock? Call a practitioner. Use them. They'll be so delighted that you did. All right, until then, peace and blessings. Stay strong, stay safe, and hopefully we'll be together sooner rather than later. We'll see you Sunday. Bye now.